Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Side. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Bhakti Siddhanta Shri Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Sri Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Girivardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami to Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami to Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the Assembled God. All glories to the Assembled God. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble
Hare
obeisances.
Krishna. Thunderwad.
Welcome Maharaj for today's class. How are you doing?
I'm still hanging inside his body.
Nice to see you, Maharaj. You are welcome.
Thank you. Can you see me clearly?
Yes, Maharaj. Can see
Okay.
you, and we have so many new devotees joining us very soon. So I will put the verse on the screen so we can start, please.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tato Jaya Mutiraya Nastrapayesa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavaitinastake. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 51. So, Srinam Madatta Bandunam Drohoyo Sa Ihotitaha Kama Bhigrihame Diye Naham Kalpo Vyapohitum Srinam Madatta Bandunam Drohoyo Sa Ihotitaha Kama Bhigrihame Diye Naham Kalpo Vyapohitum. So word for word translation. And translation and purport by His Divine Grace is confirmatory. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada.
Sorry, Maharaj, for that noise.
Okay. So word for word translation, Srinam of the women, Mat by me, Hata Bandunam of the friends who are killed, Droha enmity, Yaha that, Asa all those, Eha herewith, Uttitaha has accrued. Karma be by dint of work. Grihamediye by persons engaged in material welfare. Na, never. Aham, I. Kalpaha, can expect. Vyapohiton, undoing the same. Translation: I have killed many friends of women and have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare, work. I have killed many friends of women and have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare work. Just a minute.
Okay.
So, purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. The Grihamedis are those who, whose only business is to perform welfare work for the sake of material prosperity. Such material prosperity is sometimes hampered by sinful activities. For the materialist is sure to commit sins, even unintentionally, in the course of discharging material duties. To get relief from such sinful reactions, the Vedas prescribe several kinds of sacrifices. It is said in the Vedas that by performing the Ashvamedha Yajna, horse sacrifice, one can get relief from even Brahmahatya, killing of a Brahmana. Yudhishthira Maharaj performed this Ashvamedha Yajna, but he thinks that even by performing such yajnas, it is not possible to get relief from the great sins committed. In war, either the husband or the brother or even a father or sons go to fight. And when they are killed, a fresh enmity is created. And thus, a chain of actions and reactions increases, which is not possible to be counteracted even by thousands of Ashvamedha Yajnas. The way of work, karma, is like that. It creates one action and another reaction simultaneously, and thus increases the chain of material activities, binding the performer in material bondage. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:27-28, the remedy is suggested that such actions and reactions of the part of work can be checked only when work is done on behalf of the Supreme Lord. The battle of Kurukshetra was actually fought by the will of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, as it is evident from his version, and only by his will was Yudhishthira placed on the throne of Hastinapur. Therefore, factually, no sin whatsoever touched the Pandavas, who were only the other carriers of the Lord. For others who declare war out of personal interest, the whole responsibility lies on them. Obagana Timiranda Sya Gyana Jana Salakaya Saksur Om Militam Jena Tasmai Sti Gurave Namaha Jetayam Anobistam Safi Tham Jena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swa Padantika Vancha Kalpa Tarubhya Cha Kripa Sundabhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyabadi Pachatya Disatare Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Gadadhar Siva Sari Segora Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I have killed many friends of women and have thus caused enmities to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare work. So in the purport here, Prabhupada, in the very first sentence, Prabhupada mentions that the Grihamadis are those whose only business is to perform welfare work for the sake of material prosperity. So there are two concepts in the Vedic literature. We have the Grihamadis and the Grihastas. When one is maintaining a household, he has to work, he has to maintain his family very nicely. It means he has to get, he has to struggle to get plenty of money. And in the process of striving to develop economically, there are some misadventures that are prosecuted unintentionally. But be that as it is, one gets the reactions to those unintended misrepresentation of the will of the Lord. So, someone who is maintaining his life, maintaining his family, is bound to commit activities that will bring some reactions. Even just by working, we are killing so many ants. And so the material world is just, when we are born into this material world, we're really born into sinful activities. There's no other way. Once we are born into this material world, we are very happy, family members are happy, but there are a lot of activities along the line that are very devastating to eventual emancipation from this material existence. And so the Gryamid is the very expert in performing activities, welfare activities, for the sake of material upliftment or material prosperity. Because once you have a large, say, once you have a big family, you have a wife and children and maybe grandchildren and all this stuff, you are bound to work hard. You can't say, well, I believe in God. God should bring everything down to me. I am a son of God. I'm a devotee of God. And so everything should actually flow very nicely. No, even the devotee, we have to work so hard that sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand. But everyone has to work so hard. And therefore, it is important for us to understand that the life of a grihastha is not so juicy the way that we tend to anticipate, because it's a life of responsibility. And if someone is a grihastha, they are fully guided by devotional principles. Whereas the Gryamedi, he or her interest is just to be able to have fun and increase the duration of one's stay in the material world by dint of involvement in activities that perpetuate samsara. And so, the very concept of grihastha is very challenging, because it is easy to be able to have a family. It is easy to be able to procreate, but it is not so easy to be able to guide your dependents back home, back to God. And that is the exact demand of the scriptures about one being a parent. Now, if one is a grihastha, it's so easy to go back home, back to God. Because being a grihastha and one perfecting on that is a way to liberation. In fact, being a grihastha is more difficult than being a brahmachari. In fact, it's even more difficult than being a renunciant. Because being a grihastha means that you have all of the facilities for enjoyment. Say you are a handsome, attractive young man, you're married, you have a very attractive young wife, and so the facility for enjoyment is there. But the grihastha is a life that is based on restraint. In other words, it's like someone has plenty of food in the house, and then he says, well, today is Yogini Ekadasi, no eating. Now, the other person, somebody may say, well, today is Ekadasi, and I will not eat. And there are two things. One has so much of facility in his house or in her house. Food is flowing like anything. Anything at all you can eat. Another person is a pauper. He's a poor guy who has no money. He can't eat 3 square meals. So on Ekadasi, these two people decided to fast. But we know that even the fasting is based on devotion, individual mindset, consciousness. But externally speaking, we see that the person who has so much facility in the house and decides to fast, he is seen to be the one who is really like into it. The one who was not into it, and then he decides also to fast. Yes, that is something to write home about. But people will say, well, he doesn't have anything to eat anyway. And so the grihasta is like someone who has all of the facilities for enjoyment, and then at the same time, she is able to have the self-restraint. It doesn't go beyond the boundary. And the Grihambedi means that, the people you see out there who have beautiful, attractive spouses, and they do all type of things, they do all type of abominable things to be able to satiate and try to satisfy their sensory modalities. And so it is something that it is very difficult. And here in this very text, I was listening to a lecture given by Prabhupada on this very text in Los Angeles on the 13th of in Los Angeles. So in 1973, and Prabhupada was mentioning, in details about the duties of a perfect grihasta. And in that very lecture, Prabhupada also was indicating how there has been a lot of changes from one generation to the other. Things are changing. For instance, during the time of Prabhupada, he said people, the marriage was like the girls were teenagers. And sometimes the little girls have to get married, and then they will wait for when they will become, attain puberty. So, but then Prabhupada mentions that, things at one generation passes, things have changed, and it gets the time now that even in India, a number of families, they don't want their children to get married without having some skills. So it means that the marriage period becomes a little bit delayed. There is some delayed gratification, which is also good in the long run for the couples and for the family. Because to be on the practical side of things, if we're not just being rhetoric, we understand that for the two parties, the husband and wife, anything could happen. And I had that experience with one of my cousin sisters. She married one professor, and then later, the professor got a political appointment to be a commissioner. So they had money. But when I met her for the first time, after 16 years, we never met. And so I told her that, yeah, she's doing good, but it is best to prepare for the worst situation. And she said, what? I said, look, death can happen at any time. And if you don't have proper skills, even what you have, the resources you and your husband have, it could be difficult to manage the resources. And so why don't you go to develop more skills? She said, I already have a degree. I said, yeah, that's good. But, people also like you, they think higher, and so they go for higher skills. And so she decided to go to do her master's. And then after some years, we were talking on the phone, and I asked that, how is your husband? She said, oh, that man died in an accident. I said, why didn't you tell me? He said, but we never meet, and we never also spoke on the phone. So, but then one of the remarks she made is that she said, bros, thank you very much. I said, you thanking me for what? He said, you inspired me to go back to school. She said, after getting her master's, and when her husband left with all of those plenty of resources behind, it became easy for her to manage the resources. So the point is that you may even have a spouse, and anyone can leave the planet before the other. So it is essential, especially in the 21st century, that we don't just think about now, we think also about the future. So suppose we have someone is married, they have, like what happened with this young lady. Someone is married with children, and something happened. Either the wife leaves the planet, or the husband leaves the planet. Is the other person going to be in a position to be able to cater for the family? And so these are some of the things that the modern culture looks at. And even in India, you find a number of the girls who are getting married now. They're well groomed. They went to school, they finished their career, and then they get married. But it doesn't mean that the delayed gratification is going to thin into the air. It's still there. It's just that there is a preparation for the future. So these days, bills are so high. The cost of living is so high. Even to train a child is so expensive. To get a house, some people, it's so difficult for them to have their own house. Even the rent is so expensive. And so it is essential for us to think about a practical approach to life. Now, Yudhishthira does not take things on a simple ground. He had performed Aswamedha Yagyas, but he felt that this is not going to really cover up for all of the killings that have transpired on the battlefield. And he is taking responsibility. And so, if someone has done so much, we should not be complacent. We should not think, well, I've done so much, I did this. Or I've preached so much and I need to retire now. So, Bhakti Swami Maharaj used to say that in every culture, women are the bedrock. Women are the carriers of culture. And when the women are happy, society becomes very joyful. There is high-spiritedness when the women are in a blissful mindset. But how could a woman be happy when the husband has been killed on the battlefield? How could even the girl be happy when the father has been killed on the battlefield? Or the brother has been killed on the battlefield? So these considerations are very genuine, they're very authentic on the part of Yudhishthira, that he has wreaked havoc on the lives of women. And because of this, when you kill when you kill the source of sense gratification of someone, you create enmity, you know. Sometimes they plan for a revenge. And so it is important for us to understand how Yudhishthira views the situation of the devastation that ensued with the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Responsibility. So it's just giving us fundamental idea about how to be responsible for our actions and do something authentic to rectify situations. Afterwards, the Pandavas committed no sin at all. They simply executed the orders of Lord Krishna. So why is Yudhishthira taking this responsibility, feeling in this way, and, you know, lamenting? It just shows how he is a genuine leader. He's not just after himself. Now, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this type of wars, when someone fights on behalf of the Lord, he has no cause, there's no cause for compunction. But these days, people declare war for their selfish motivation. We will see what has been happening when different countries are attacked by some superior powers. What is the motivation? And so it's not a war that is even required. Sometimes it is after a war is fought after several years before, you know, some people come to think about it, that this is not worthwhile. I mean, why do we have to do this? So this material world is a place where is the planet of death, Mrityu Loka. So wars are avenues of exterminating people, sending people to Yamaloka. But a leader should not unnecessarily declare war or go into war when it could be avoided. Otherwise, the consequences of such events or such activities, they're very tremendous, they're very great. And that person who inspired, who motivated, who declared the war, he takes responsibility. The sinful reactions that come along with that type of decision, that type of activity, the leader takes responsibility. And so it is important for us to understand, like Papa puts it in the purport, the way of war, karma, is it creates one activity, creates some reactions, and it further produces other reactions. It becomes like a chain of actions and reactions. And especially with war, it is not just the killings on the battlefield. People in that environment are subjected to abject poverty. Sometimes the women who have nothing to do with the war, the soldiers come to rape them and all those type of stuff. It's so common. So war is not a good deal. But if one is given the order of the Lord, to go to war, that's fine. Like the case of the Pandavas. So Prabhupada mentions in purport here that there are no sinful reactions because they only executed the will of the Lord. So when the devotee executes the will of the Lord, there is no need to fear for any sinful reactions. We get reactions based on activities that we perform to gratify our desires, to gratify our sensory modalities. But if it is to gratify the sensory modalities of the Lord, we don't have any dime of reactions to pay. So, important thing here is that we are living in a material world, and sometimes we think that life is so easy, but that life itself is not so easy. Whether you are so rich or whether you are so poor, or whether you are a grihasta or whether you're a grihamedi, there are challenges that are involved in just being in this world. Or whether you're a devotee or you're not a devotee, life is full of challenges. But how we respond to those challenges, that is the situation. That is what makes us who we really are. The challenges are there. How we respond to those challenges, are we taking responsibility for our actions? Okay, take for instance, we take some decisions. If we take a decision, like the Kauravas, we take a decision not to give a land that will cover, that a pin will cover to the Pandavas, and then eventually there was war. So in other words, there are certain things that we could do to avoid conflicts. To create a conflict could be so easy. To resolve a conflict could be so difficult. And whenever there is a conflict, heads roll. Even in the family, whenever there is some quarrel, whenever there is some fight, it creates cracks in the relationship. And then sometimes people even yet to be born become part of that cycle of enmity. So it is important for us to understand that it takes two people to fight. It just takes two people to fight. And they get other people involved because they create, they create camps. It takes two people to have an argument. But then they don't end there. They try to woo other people. I woo this person to my side. He woos the other person to their side. And then, we cause a chain of enmity. People who ordinarily shouldn't be involved. If you don't get involved, then it's like, you don't love me. And so, we have to understand that the politics of war is very complex. The politics of misunderstanding itself is very complex. And organizing people to be able to have a structured society where people could live peacefully and not create conflicts, that in itself is very challenging. People, okay, look, people tend to think that America, oh, everything is okay there. But look, see, every day people are killing each other. Homicides, it's just so rampant. And sometimes you find the wife carries a gun and kills the husband, and then the children and turns the gun to herself. So to be in this world and to be a householder could be very challenging. Whether you're not a householder, just to be in this world is very challenging. But the important thing is that one set of people are following the tradition, the Vedic tradition, or they're following the instructions of the Vedas. And the other set of people, they relegate the instructions of the Vedic literature to the background. And that is where suffering comes on ending. To start to live a life, the same Bhagavatam explains how we should not even try to be householders. Whether it's Griyamedi or Grihastha, we should not even try to be that. If we ourselves are not properly situated, if we are not in a position to be able to deliver our dependence from the circle of birth and death. So you think that, obviously that is not so easy. And therefore we have to understand that creating an action or generating an action normally will produce some reactions. And it is important for us to be on the side of the Lord. And be on the side of the Lord here means that we walk according to the standard of what is prescribed by the acharyas, what is prescribed by Krishna himself. And we follow according to what the example of the living masters. So sacrifices are done to be able to alleviate one from some suffering, some reactions. And according to Yudhishthira, if even one performs this sacrifice, he is not contented because, emotionally speaking, they feel very unhappy, very unsatisfied because they have wreaked havoc on people's lives. When we hurt people, especially women. Now I was speaking in the Bhagavatam class in Mayapur just a day or so back, and the text also relates to, women protection. And one of the things that I was raised in is that, we are conditioned, so we cause offenses. And it is better to cause an offense to a man, to a male, than to be offensive towards women. Because look at one of the major things that facilitated Bhishma's downfall, Sukandi. And who was Sukandi? Sukandi, Bhishma offended Amba, who performs underwent some type of rituals, and the next birth was Sukandi. So it's so easy. We think that you know, we have physical strength, we have physical power, and so we can subjugate the women. We can beat them up instead of really protecting them. So meaning just like those women whose husbands were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, whose fathers were killed, whose brothers were killed, and Bhishma took responsibility. We are all responsible for wreaking havoc on the life of women. Because the duty of all of us is to provide protection for the Brahmanas, the elderly, women, and children. So we have to ask ourselves, how well am I protecting my wife? How well am I protecting my daughter? How well am I providing the necessities of protection for the Brahmanas in my community? This is not an easy job. And so we have to also take cognizance of the fact that in the community, if someone does something that is productive, if someone embarks on an action that is highly appreciated by others, then their goodwill spreads beyond bounds. In other words, we have to do whatever that is within our reach to be able to ensure that the needs of those under our care are provided. Okay, so it's like you don't have a child, and then the child comes to ask you for something, and then you say that, don't you know we are devotees? You don't need this. Or your wife comes to ask you for something, and you say that, don't you know that we are devotees? You don't need this. I remember some years ago, one of my friends, a young boy, I don't want to mention the country, he told me he was final year in college, and we were speaking on the phone, and he told me, Maharaj, I think I should get married. I said, that's a good idea. I said, how much? I said, how much you have? How much you have in the bank? What is your house? I said, what's your house? Because you want to be a householder, holding a house. And you don't even have you are not even able to hold a matchbox. So I said, see, for those people who know me closely, I'm raw. So I told him, it's my close friend, it's my mentee. So I told him that, hey, you don't want to get married. You want sex. It's just that in this movement, boyfriend and girlfriend is not allowed. And so now you are saying, you're turning that to say that you want to get married because you're still in school. You're doing engineering program. You've not finished. And now you say you want to marry. Where are you going to keep the woman? But he's a very sincere person. He said, Maharaj, you are right. So we have to understand the complications, implications, the complexities of embarking on any action, because there are bound to be some reactions. And then when we can't withstand it or we can't deal with the reactions, and then we look for someone to blame. That is one of the reasons why we have to prepare our young devotees for a better future. A better future in the sense that as we grow up, as we are developing, there are a lot of things to be able to deal with. There are so many things that we don't even understand. Some things going around us, we don't even understand. Some things going endogenously within our own bodies, we don't even understand. Not to speak of wars, conflict, and peace. So we should be thinking about how to avoid conflicts. Make peace, not war. Let's create harmony, not disenchantment. And our society is such that we have a prime factor that, brings people together, and that is the Christian factor. And so, if we understand Mama Evan So Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that everybody is part and parcel of Krishna, that will just make us to love each other better. We have the formula to peaceful coexistence, despite the fact that we have different ideologies regarding what we need to do and what we don't. But the common denominator is Krishna. Krishna is our father. This is the Krishna family. So if we have that undertone, if we try to implement that undertone, it becomes easy to deal with conflicts. It becomes easy to deal with agitations that come just because of, little issues. And avoiding trouble is better than trying to solve a problem that accrues as a result of a very serious challenge. And so we might not be in the position of Yudhishthira to take responsibility. So why avoid trouble, man? Avoid trouble. And they say, charity begins at home. At home, in our families, we should avoid trouble. We should make peace. We should make peace with our spouses. We should make peace with our children. So that what we say outside can become effective, can impact on people in a very positive way. Is there any comments or questions?
Thank you, Maharaj, for a nice class. Yes, we have some question from Ganashakshu Prabhu. Ganashakshu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance. I bless you.
Hey, Gyana, long time no see.
Yes, I'm in Mayapur. I've been here for the past 3 days.
Oh, you're in Mayapur?
Yes, Maharaj.
Oh, really? I'm in Mayapur.
Yes, Kusha Prabhu told me, so I'm thinking of seeing you tomorrow morning after Mangarat.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, it's late already. I'm in bed, that's why my video is off. So forgive me, Maharaj.
Two of us are late. It's late here.
Yes.
Yes.
My question is, we have so many new, new devotees here. People who have the interest of becoming devotees maybe in the future. Many of them today are even fasting on a Kedasi. Maharaj, my question is, do you have any advice for anyone who has been reading Sri Prabhupada books, anyone who has been associating with devotees? Do you have any advice to guide such people if they want to advance in spiritual life? What would be the advice, Maharaj?
They should fast on the Ekadasi and chant 16 rounds.
Many of them are doing already.
Okay, they should read Prabhupada's books every day.
Okay.
And they should visit also the temple, do some service. They should ask the temple leader for some service. This service, we say devotional service. So service is the easy route. I mean, is the easy route to devotional accomplishments.
Okay.
Service is so important. Everyone should ask themselves, what is my service to Lord Krishna? So we should encourage these people who are coming. We should serve them, but as they stay on longer, we should encourage them to, do some service. The tendency is people come today and they don't get even clear understanding of what we are doing, and we tell them, go and do this, go and do that. Then they think that, oh, these people, they just want to use me as their liberal. But if they stay on for a while and they read the books, they have some insight, and it becomes easy to engage them. So yeah, we should encourage them to visit the temple, to participate in the programs, especially on the weekend that they are not going to work. Association with devotees is so important.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm grateful. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, Maharaj.
All right.
Thank you, Maharaj. Our next question is from Angelic. Angelic, please unmute. Ahmed Angelic. Yeah, we can hear you. Go on, please.
Yeah, greetings to everybody.
Thank you.
Please, my question is, has something to do with our soul. The first question is, can our soul sin?
The soul is inhabiting this body, and this body is used in pious and impious activities. So fundamentally, the soul is detached from this body. It does not bear responsibilities. But we use this body to commit sinful activities or to commit some crime. Then it prolongs the duration of the soul in the material world. Because the soul takes different bodies. Anytime at the end of this life, the soul is awarded a different situation.
Okay.
So if we use the body for devotional service, we become purified. And at the end of it all, the soul is awarded liberation to go back to the spiritual world. But if we use the body to commit atrocities or engage in activities that are not ordained by the will of providence or by nature or by the Supreme, then it simply delays the journey of the soul out of this material world.
So it
Does it make
means,
sense?
yeah, so it means when you use the body to do sinful activities, that sin also is attached to the soul in a way.
Yeah. Because that sin enables the soul to take another body, so you are delaying the soul inside in their journey to be able to go back home, back to God.
Okay, because I was thinking the soul is always pure, and therefore the soul cannot sin. So if the soul cannot sin, then when you die, the body remains on earth. So which, if the soul cannot sin, then it means the soul also cannot go to hell. That was what I was thinking.
Okay.
So
the soul is given different bodies anytime we die.
okay. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Maharaj. Next question is from Kafi Kanapu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, Maharaj.
Hey, Kavi, long time.
Yes, Maharaj, nice to have you, Maharaj. Very happy to hear from you. Thank you for sacrificing your time to give us lecture at the late hour in India. So, Maharaj,
it's service.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. So my question is related to the conflict resolution you were talking about, because we know that also there's so many conflicts in the world because we ourselves, we have so many conflicts in our mind. So, yes, Maharaj. So my question is, how can we, in a way, resolve the conflict in our mind so that it will not pour out in a way of affecting our environment, in our spiritual way of resolving the conflict in the mind? So that is my question, Maharaj.
Well, that's a very nice, thoughtful and deep question. So instead of trying to solve the conflicts outside, why don't you solve the conflicts within? How we can solve that conflict, the conflicts within, is to engage in activities that will enable purification of ourselves. When we become purified, then there's no more conflicts. The degree that we have internal conflict, or the degree that we have endogenous conflict, to that degree, we are polluted, or our consciousness is pathological. And so what is required is to engage in activities that will help, that will facilitate purification. And so just like what we are doing in devotional service, we are chanting Krishna's name, and Krishna's name is pure. And so this helps to purify us. And so these are the activities that help us to become free from the internal conflicts or the conflicts that cloud our mind. When the mind becomes purified, no more conflicts. The mind, the polluted mind, is, sankalpa vikalpa, accepting one thing now and rejecting that same thing the next moment. The polluted mind is thinking, this is my enemy, I have killed him, my other enemy will also be killed. But actually, this is all mental concoction, because according to Lord Krishna, the uncontrolled mind is the worst enemy of the conditioned soul. So it is important for us to go deeper in our spiritual practices so that we can resolve the situation with the pathology of our mind. And then we'll be able to have sensory modalities that are completely engaged only in the service of the Lord and the Vaishnavas. So yeah, the question is very, very pertinent, very, very salient. The people try to solve the problem of other people, but then they have a lot of problems. If I try to solve the problem of other people and I have a lot of problems, how am I going to really help solve the problem of other people? So this is a very important question. And what we need to understand is that our minds are pathological. And therefore we need some purification to be able to address that. And that Lord Chaitanya has provided us with the therapy to chant Krishna's holy names, take only Krishna prasadam, because whatever that is cooked outside there by someone who is not a devotee, that is not offered to Krishna, it constitutes sin and helps to pollute our minds. And so the very simple things that we need to do, we should not give up. Thinking, well, we are very advanced now, so we don't need to eat only prasadam. We need to eat anything we see. I remember one time I was traveling and then I went to one temple. So I gave some, some detailed explanation about this very concept of boga eating. And then there was one kid, one little boy, I think about 5 years at that time or 6 years. So after the class, he went to tell the mother, "Mother, stop giving me biscuits." Yeah, so it is important that we monitor our internal conflicts and be able to address them so that we can be available to help other people with a sense of reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. There's a question on the chat room from Chris Nikoy. Question is, if the perfect soul goes back to Godhead, why are souls descending to the material world?
Why are what?
If the perfect soul goes back to Godhead, why are souls descending to the material world?
Why are souls descending to the material world?
Yeah, if they are perfect.
If they are perfect.
Yeah, and goes back to Godhead.
Why are they coming to the material world?
Again, yes.
Is that be clear?
The question is, if the perfect soul goes back to Godhead, why are the same souls descending to the material world?
Oh, no. Christian said when one comes to me, he never goes back to the material world. He never goes to the material world. That's there in the Bhagavad Gita. Our struggle is to go back to the spiritual world, where life is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. And sometimes we're just so much desperate about trying to figure out how did we come here? Why did we come here? Prabhupada would answer, Like someone, give an example of someone in a dry well, and someone tried to save them by throwing a rope. Instead of them to cling on the rope and be drawn out, then they stay there to ask, who is that person who threw this rope down here? Why did you throw the rope down here? So Prabhupada says, you cling on the rope. When you get up from the well, then you know better. You can investigate why you, how come that, you know, how did you get into the well? So yeah, an intelligent person struggles after analyzing the defects of this material world, that even the greatest person suffers calamities, if not physically, emotionally. So the promise given to us is that when we go back to the spiritual world, we will never again take birth here. So let's struggle to do that. Let's embark on that very effort in devotional service.
Thank you, Maharaj. Next question again from Jana Shakshi Prabhu.
Yeah, Maharaj, I wanted to clarify the question that the member asked. The question is, if pure souls go back to Godhead and they don't return back to the material world, why are souls descending to the material world? Not exactly those perfect souls, because the population is always growing. So if pure souls come back, why are souls so, appearing in the material world? That was the question. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. The jiva basically is always in a mood of traveling.
They had the Krishna movement, always moving.
We like to travel. We like to travel. Brahman, the Brahmite, Konya, Bhagyavan, Jiva. We are moving, traveling from one realm, one planet to the other, from a heavenly planet down to the hellish planet, a middle planetary system. We have always been in the mood of traveling. It's simple thing. Exploration. We want to explore. And so the universe is so gigantic, and it's full of living entities. And so the living entities, when you stay on one realm, say you stay on a heavenly planet, and you exhaust your pious merit, so you come down to the lower planets to start off with objective duties, ones that will help to help one to be able to accrue pious merit to again go back to the heavenly planet. So there is this movement of the living entity from one planetary system to the other. And so, in fact, that makes everything click in the material world. We have always been moving. So when we go back to the spiritual world, we don't come back here. When we say coming down to earth, the heavenly planets is not a spiritual world. The movement of the living, the jivas, and when we say the material world, say the planet Earth is being overpopulated, and one of the reasons is that we don't have people who are very pious on this material, on this Earth planet, who are vacating the area. And so the people who are born in a past life, they get born on this planet because they don't have sufficient pious merit to ascend to the heavenly planets, or even to be able to become purified, to go back home, back to God. And so the problem remains that we get over so-called stressed with overpopulation. because people are not really performing pious merit. They are not having sufficient pious merit to live this, to go higher. And so it is important for us to understand that the jiva is not static. The jiva is not in a static equilibrium. It's always moving. And there are so many planets, heavenly planets, multi-planetary system, and lower planets. So this movement is going on, and except one gets out from this very circle of birth and death, one is entrapped here. So it doesn't matter. You may be in the heavenly planets, and then you come down again to this earth planet or multi-planetary system to enjoy your pious merit, accumulated pious merit, or to start off life, work harder again for more pious merit to move ahead. But as soon as we get back to the spiritual world, this movement back and forth stops. We're just there, enjoying, serving Krishna, enjoying life perpetually. No more coming back.
Thank you, Maharaj. Next question is from Samuel Kwabena. Please unmute your mic. Samuel Kwabena, please. Daniel, unmute your mic. Whoever is ready.
Okay, sir. I'm Krishna. I have a question. I really understand that what you were saying, that when the soul is really perfect on earth and then returns back to hello,
Yeah.
and then returns back to kingdom of God, it doesn't come back to the earth again. For that, I understand very well. But I want to know that what is the purpose of humans on earth? What really the reason why we came on earth? And where were we coming from?
Thank you very much. This is very intelligent question, So,
yes, sir.
One thing is that this planet Earth is one of those millions of planets or trillions of planets. And the reason why we are here is to balance our lives. We have two options. We may decide to perpetuate our material existence, or we feel that to hell with this material existence, birth, disease, old age, and death. I am fed up with this. I just want to engage in devotional service and get out from this material prison. So here you are, you make a decision. And what basically happens is that a number of people don't understand that the material world is a testing ground. For instance, if you're born in a very wealthy family, you don't even think about suffering, But when you go out, you see so many people suffering. Essentially, an intelligent person should go out and see what is happening to people. If even you are born with silver spoon in your mouth. And this life we are living, it gives us two options. One option is to cultivate devotional service and go back to Godhead. Another option is to enjoy our lives unlimitedly and become entangled more and more in accepting different type of bodies on different planets. So there are two reasons. There are two choices. There are two choices we have to make. I mean, yeah, there are two choices or two options. We either use this life to promote our spiritual welfare, or we use this life to promote our material welfare. Promote our material welfare means we don't care about devotional activities. Promote our spiritual welfare means we engage in devotional service to enable us attain pure love for God, for Krishna, and at the end of this life, we can go and join Krishna in the spiritual world. The other question that you ask is, where are we coming from? That's a nice one. According to Prabhupada, when people ask this question, again, the same issue, that he gives the example of someone in a dry well, and a lifesaver throws a thread to the person, and intelligent person will clinch on the thread and then be drawn out from the well. Now, when he comes out, he'll be able to figure out how he went there or how he got there. He doesn't stay in the well and start questioning the person who is trying to save him. How did I get here? And who are you? Who is throwing this rope down here? So the material world is like, it's like a dry well where we are, and the spiritual master comes to try to save us from that very situation. Prabhupada comes to save us. Our present acharyas, our present spiritual masters, the devotees, they come to help us to facilitate a positive social change by providing us with facilities to enable us outgrow the sinful desires and be able to attain a level of consciousness where we can appreciate that this body is meant for cultivating devotional service to Krishna, and that eventually will help to purify our existence, and we go back home, back to God. Does it make some sense?
Thank you, Maharaj. We have a question from Kalarupa Prabhu from Togo.
Yeah.
Kalarupa, mute.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavat. Please
Hare
accept
Krishna,
my
Dandavat.
obeisances. Yes. Thank you, Maharaj, for your lecture. You said that we should protect brahmanas, cows, and also women. And my question is, who are brahmanas, and how can we recognize them?
Oh,
Hare
that's
Krishna.
good. That's a good question. A brahmana is one who knows Brahman, who is living by Brahmanical qualities. In the Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of Brahmana are given. Essentially, the Brahmana is one who has a higher understanding about the difference between matter and spirit. A Brahmana is one who is very deep in knowledge of God, knowledge of Krishna. A Brahmana is one who is able to have practical understanding on how this material world is a prison yard. And therefore, he or she engages in activities that will allow them to be able to become free from the clutches of material existence. In other words, the fundamental quality of a Brahmana is that he talks Krishna Katha. He talks Krishna Katha and lives by the rules of the scriptures. A Brahmana is one who knows Brahman or spirit. In other words, Brahmana knows the difference between matter and spirit. This body and then the soul. The Brahmana knows the difference. The Brahmana also knows the relationship between the jiva and Krishna. And so the Brahmana is one who has an in-depth understanding about the functionality of this material world, the functionality of this body in relationship with Krishna. And so those people, they are not interested in anything else other than to cultivate devotional service to Krishna. That's a Brahmana. They're very peaceful. They are very knowledgeable, spiritually knowledgeable. And they control themselves. They control their senses. They control their senses. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, you find amazing qualities of the Brahmana, and how to identify such qualities is quite easy. If someone is talking, in most cases, you will not know whether this person is a Brahmana or not. But when they start talking, then you'll be able to figure out. Their actions are people-oriented and Krishna-conscious oriented. Does it make some sense?
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. There's a question from Solomon. Please unmute, Solomon. Unmute your mic, Solomon.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, what's the question?
The question is, I happen to listen to one leader. It's like I followed one Gianna Castus Das from Ghana. So it got me interested, and I searched on YouTube, and I had an interview that was conducted. There was interviewing one Hare Krishna leader. Then they were talking about reincarnation. So he made mention of when one attains a righteous life, a pious life, he goes back to God and he doesn't return. But if one doesn't attain a pious life, he's been taken to somewhere else. I've forgotten where he mentioned. Then at the point, the person will come back to the material world to get to attain a perfect life or a pious life before he goes back. But if at the point where the person died and he was returning, he or she was returning to, that is heaven, the heavenly planet, and his life was not that good for him to be taken to God, that is the spiritual realm, he might come back in a form of, like for reincarnation, when he's being reincarnated, he might come back as a tree or as an animal. So in this case, how would that person, if the person comes in the form of a tree or an animal, how would that person be able to attain that pious life for him to go back to God? That's one question.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank, we should all thank Jnana Sakshi for connecting people like this to Krishna consciousness. He's a wonderful preacher. Perhaps people should think of how to be able to, be useful like Jnana Sakshi in spreading the message of God. So thank you very much for your question. When someone attains perfection, it goes back to God. If someone takes the body of a tree, he has to, that soul has to undergo the the gradual progressive effort until they attain some animal body again. This is the reason why, you know, people who are being who are being nude. A tree is more or less nude. A tree does not put on a dress. So we find people who like to display their bodies without clothes, and it's become a fashion now. They're helping to build their bodies as trees. Their next bodies. In America, there are some societies, or there are some communities, nudist communities. Everybody's naked. Men, women, children, everyone is naked. So they don't know that they're building their next life. This consciousness they have and the physical display they are embarking on is facilitating a change in their next life. And that means to attain a tree body. So a tree body is a very abominable status, because they have to undergo the process of evolution until they come to take the body of an animal, and then of a human being, to then they can start cultivating spiritual knowledge. So it's a very horrible thing. And it's a nice question, but it's very in Kali Yuga. So many people may be taking bodies of trees, because especially with the internet now, a number of people are just nude. They don't wear anything. And they say that is civilization, you know. Okay, it's good for you. So bottom line is that it's a degraded life, it's a very horrible situation. And they have to wait for a long time to be able to attain the human platform through evolution of the soul. Thank you for your question again.
Okay, Maharaj, we have one last question from Peter Kofa. Please, Peter.
Hello. I don't know how to go by the greetings, but please take it as the other devotees greet you, so that I don't make a mistake.
Okay.
My question is, from knowing Jana, I've learned a lot, and personally, I'm not a devotee yet, but my life has changed dramatically, because most of the time it's my wife who asks me, is it not time for like a courtesy that you need to do? I say, I don't know. Even last night she asked me, and most of the time when she asks like that, I will put it on the platform and then I will get the list. Anyway, my question is, people who have not had the chance to get this message, are they going to be judged the same way as those of us who have received this message? Because I know millions of people are doing things that they're not supposed to do, but they are not aware. It's like they don't know that they don't know. So how are we going to help them? That's my question.
That's a good question. That's a good question, because so many people are suffering and we know the reactions. You see, that I don't know, for instance, I never knew that this is a crime. I never knew that driving on the left is a crime. Hey, please leave me alone. I never knew that this is a crime. Police will say, all right, we'll take you to the station. This is why I said I said in the beginning that, or I said when I was speaking that material world is full of complexities. It's such a dangerous place because lack of information culture does not enable an excuse to be punished for our sinful activities. So we have a lot to do. This is a real concern. This is a compassionate concern. We have a lot to do so as to be able to become medium for helping other people to acquire this knowledge so that they can better understand how to utilize their lives in a positive way. Otherwise, so many people are doomed. What you said is very correct. If people know what they are doing is wrong, they could change their life, but they don't even know. That is why expanding the mission of Jnana Sakshu is so important. Arm yourself with this knowledge, what Jnana Sakshu is given to you, and be an instrument of positive change for others. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Jana.
Akusa, in the absence of any other questions, do we have to adjourn this meeting?
Yeah, we have to let you go to bed. It's late where you are. That's why. We should show you mercy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj, for coming for today's class. We look forward for your next class. Please, we ask all devotees to kindly unmute yourselves and let's chant Hare Krishna.
Wait a minute, Kusa. Wait a minute, and have the last comment. I wanted to inform all of you that we have, so to say, we went for a conference at the World Academy of Science, Engineering and Technology. We made a presentation.
Maharaj, please unmute yourself.
We made a presentation on how chanting helps to prevent financial fraud. And that was accepted by the scientists. So we are looking forward to the next phase of when that paper will be published. And so we can have also have that in your documents. So that was a big success because you have to speak in the language of the scientists. A number of things that we are doing, they're very helpful to the society, but at the same time, a number of people are not religious people, and so some of us have to speak in the language of the scientists and be able to transplant the information, the spiritual science. So that was something I felt I should share with you. I'm looking forward to my next presentation in Germany this is on global peace and security. So that was a very successful presentation at the London conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. So we ask all devotees to kindly unmute and chant Hare Krishna for Maharaj for coming, please.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama,
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.